Hello, welcome to the Free Cheese, episode 353. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Zellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games, brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, Joe.
Welcome to the Free Cheese podcast.
Oh, why, thank you.
Hey, it's great to have you.
It's been a while.
We've got a show today, talking about, of course, what we've played in the last week, some news from the last week. But, Matt, we're also going to celebrate the 60th anniversary of SEGA.
SEGA! You're going to chime in the SEGA sound effect right there, right?
Fuck. Well, now I have to. God damn it. I'll write a note down.
Because I want to do it, but it'd just be better if we just Hey, I feel like every YouTuber has like an editor they always yell at to do shit. Like, who's our guy?
Me.
Hey, Joe, throw that in there.
It's just me. I mean, we could yell at somebody if you want. Fucking.
We can yell at one of your dogs. Your dogs can be the.
They're upstairs. They got to stay upstairs. They snore too loud in the background when we record. Plus, they don't have the thumbs. You know what I mean? Matt, I think we're going to get right into it.
All right.
I caused an accident in a grocery store last night. You may, hyper-vigilant viewers may notice that you can't see anything because this is an audio-only show, but Matt can see a nice Band-Aid on my pinky finger.
I see a little blood trickling through there, too.
No, that's the Band-Aid. It's got little blood drops on it. Or something.
All right, Never mind.
All right, check this out. Go to the frozen foods section where they sell frozen foods, and I'm there for the ice cream. Specifically, there's a brand of mochi. What comes in a box? It's $6 for 6 pieces of mochi. It's like $1 a piece. Not a bad deal, all in all. Well, right now, grocery store had it on sale for $3.99 instead of $5.99. You do the fucking math, right? That's a good deal anyway you shake it.
Deal.
And it's been good because it gives you that good sensation of, hey, I just ate some ice cream. But you eat one piece, it's like 100 calories. It's not, it's good. They're on sale. So the only thing that's left, they're all the way in the back. So, I'm like, all right, let me just let me open the door, stand on the bottom lip, and reach up for it. Well, Matt, I don't know if you know anything about standing on the inside of a freezer door, but you got to stabilize yourself, right?
All right.
Normally, inside of freezer doors, they have kind of a protective plastic sheath that surrounds and encases the light bulb there within. I guess that sheath just wasn't there. And when I put my hand in, I went right through the fluorescent light. I heard a pop, and then I heard glass shatter hit the ground. I thought Stone Cold was showing up with some beers.
Stone Cold around.
And I'm like, what the fuck? And I look, and my hand's just like, it was a good deep cut too, like blood immediately. And I look down, and then there's glass all over the floor. I'm like, fuck. And I'm running, I'm like, ugh, and I go, there's a bathroom like right at the end of the aisle. So I ran, grabbed a paper towel, wrapped my whole hand, grabbed my hand under the sink in the bathroom, wrapped my whole hand up in paper towel. And I came back because I wanted to make sure that, like, I didn't bleed everywhere, or, and I wanted to tell somebody to get the glass. And thankfully, I left a spot of blood on the price tag, but it was the price tag in the thing, but then there's a plastic coat, a plastic thing, like, on top of the price tag. So there was a drop of dried blood on that, frozen blood. So I peeled that off so I could throw it away so nobody had to deal with that. And that was it. That was the extent of my damage outside of the broken glass everywhere. And I don't think they were very happy with me when I told them that. I get it. When I worked in a grocery store, anytime someone told me anything that I had to do that was outside of the norm was annoying as shit. But, I felt like I was thorough. I was like,
still bad. I thought maybe you leaned into the shelf and the shelf like broke because it wasn't secured properly or something, and everything came down.
No, this
is still bad.
I would have fixed that though, because I know how to fix that. This I can't fix broken glass. Like I just can't. Not gonna happen.
Well, you hit the rewind button and the glass is shattered. It just goes back into place.
I tried, but the L button was stuck, so I couldn't get everything to move backwards in time.
I'm just disappointed Stone Cold didn't come around the corner, or a man that looked like Stone Cold.
I looked for it. I was like, huh? Bam Bam, you here? Yeah, that was my highlight. I'll tell you what, though, for it happening last night, it healed quite quickly. And I got a fuck ton of mochi. I mean, the shit's on sale. You can't not stock up.
Well, I mean, you didn't get did you try to pull the move? It was, oh, man, this has got blood on it. Like, I got to get for a further discount.
No, I made sure the only blood was on that thing. I inspected the area thoroughly before leaving. I didn't want to leave. That's gross.
Especially nowadays, man. You can't be leaving your blood everywhere.
I mean, I got clean blood. I know that, but other people don't know that, and I wouldn't want to do that to anybody. But yeah, I let them know. They weren't thrilled, and they were a little freaked out that I had, because it's technically a small cut, but I'm in a fucking grocery store without bandages. I just wrapped it in as many paper towels as I could because I didn't know how long it was going to bleed or for how whatever. So I'm standing up there telling them about it, and I just got this fucking hodgepodge of bloody paper towels all over me, and they're staring at me like, this fucking guy.
The Pride is happy they didn't have to follow an incident report. Or they still may have, I don't know.
I think they might have wanted to, but I just left. Like I wasn't standing around. Yeah, my name's Jack Trenton. This is my address, 425 PlayStation Way. Yeah. Did you cut yourself this week at all?
No, I actually dialed and had to talk to a 911 representative for the first time ever. I was sitting at our dining room table, and all of a sudden we hear like a loud boom, and we see sparks flying, and more booms, more sparks, and I looked, and it came from the power lines. And upon more further investigation, one of the lines just fell off.
Oh my god, it was just whipping around like a wild spaghetti?
Yeah, so I saw the sparks, and I was immediately concerned because I knew there's like a tree kind of like right in that area. And I was like, oh shit, fire. Oh shit, electrical. Oh no. So yeah, like instinct just kicked in, 911. And yeah, kind of talked to the operator and let them know what was going on. And of course, my dad, the electrician, he's like out there like expecting like, oh, all right. Like,
it's a wire. That's some zappy spaghetti.
And yeah, so like we call our BGE, or Bar Gas and Electric. My mom was on the phone with them. I was on the phone with 911. It's dispatched a fire thing. But yeah, that was fucking exciting. It was like 2 flashes, 3 loud booms, sparks like multiple times I saw.
Oh god.
Yeah, it was a little scary there for 20 seconds. I thought for sure
something would catch fire.
Yeah, I thought for sure that's like tree, because the tree is like all wrapped around these cable wires, and I thought for sure like it caused something. And it's funny because our power blinked when that happened. We weren't one of the houses that lost power, but it was funny that morning, like at 7:30 a.m., like randomly our power blinked, and then like an hour before it happened, our power blinked. So I bet you it was that cable or wire or whatever starting to lose connection. So kind of interesting. It was yeah. I was very good on the phone. I knew my addresses. I knew my.
Good job, man.
It's like I was a lifeguard at one point in my life,
First time I called 911 was when I was a kid, and I had a little Tykes phone that had you'd make phone. It was on like a fake fucking like tool thing, whatever. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna use the real phone to call 911, and I did that, and they were asked what my emergency was, and I hung up. And then a cop showed up. Yep.
That's fun.
That was cool. I was 4. I didn't know any fucking better. Yeah. And then I knew you don't call just for fun. That guy was very scary.
Well, that's kind of what happened to me. First thought was, oh shit, fire.
Yeah.
Like, this is probably really bad without even really looking. And then I called and I hung up. And as soon as I hung up, I knew I was like, shit. Yeah. And then luckily, they called me right back before dispatching someone. And they were like, I see that you called. I was like, yeah, I realized I probably should have called Gas and Electric first. But while you're on the phone, this is what was going on. And, yeah. They dispatched someone, though. And, like, the firefighters came. They did come and like look at the polls and like read the numbers off, and I guess they also call like BG like, "Yo, you got like a fucking wire down. You need to send someone now." So,
Well, you know the song.
what song? I don't know the song.
Wires down, red alert, don't go near, you'll get hurt. Get some help, better run, and do not touch.
See,
you don't remember that song?
You see, this is where the my elementary school might have failed me, aka my mom.
No, dude, this was on fucking television. This was on Fox 45 after school. This was like
This
every
is maybe
day.
where video games failed me.
You weren't watching just like cartoons after school and
Yeah,
shit?
maybe I just don't remember it. Maybe I blocked it out of my memory.
Dude,
I don't
they
know. I
played
don't need
that
a song
song.
to remember that. I just know fucking electrical wire sparks, stay away. Also, my dad being an electrician, I know that
Yeah.
as well.
I will find it was a BGE commercial. I will find. I can still see the little girl like.
Oh, it's coming back. I got it. You don't have to bring it up. I remember now.
Yeah, you got it.
Yep.
Listeners at home, you can sing along and play along with us. Yeah. Well, Matt, we're gonna do a little different this week. We're gonna save our now playing for the middle because I feel like it's gonna be kind of slim. But we do have a good chunk of news this week. Followed by later on at the end of the show, we'll talk about Sega's 60th anniversary. But first, I think the biggest news story of the week is that, there's a few news stories, but I guess the biggest one is the absence of a news story with the PlayStation 5 event that we talked about last week being delayed. The exact statement... We decided to postpone the PlayStation 5 event scheduled for June 4th. While we understand gamers worldwide are excited to see PS5 games, we do not feel that right now is a time for celebration, and for now we want to stand back and allow more important voices to be heard. This is in the wake of...
protests around the nation about...
following...
George Floyd and the response to that and... all that good stuff.
Police murder. There's a lot going on in PlayStation.
I say good stuff. I don't mean, yeah.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. There's a lot, and a lot of companies did exactly what PlayStation did. We have a story later on about Slay the Spire, but that was supposed to debut in the Guerrilla Collective show on June 6th, but that's also delayed until June 13th. In the wake of this, a lot of companies, social media blackout, and just kind of stepping back, staying. This wasn't the week for promoting.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that. Stuff. I think the biggest one was from Rockstar. They during the George Floyd Memorial, they just shut down the servers of arguably two of the most popular online games, in Red Dead Redemption 2 and Grand Theft Auto 5. And then I know Call of Duty has been real big into it. One, they delayed the release of the Battle Pass. We don't have a date on that yet, but I'm assuming it's going to come at some point. But yeah, they delayed the release on that. And then they have a very predominantly have a splash screen at the very beginning that says about Black Lives Matter. And I don't have the actual statement there, but it's pretty much very similar of we don't stand for systemic racism, all that stuff. And then even when you're loading into a map, the map, usually you get that screen, the screenshot of the map with all that. It still says the map and the mode you're loading into in the corner, but it's just that splash screen again every time you load into a map, and that's across Warzone and just regular multiplayer. So, it's good to see that. I know the EA community has been it's been a very vocal minority in their subreddits about their racism and names and just character creations. I can't talk about enough how many times I've seen gorillas with African American characters and just how fucked up that is. But finally, they just came out and said that they're going to take a harsher stance on that. So it's good to see the community kind of coming together here and trying to make kind of stand up for a good cause here, because it's just, I just don't understand how it's so hard just to be fucking nice to people. That's something that's so frustrating to me, and it's not cool.
Yeah. I think the the ultimate thing out of this is that it's no matter what, I think people are talking about things they wouldn't otherwise talk about and thinking about things they otherwise wouldn't think about. And, I think it's good to just challenge even if you feel like you've been doing everything right, it's still a reminder to stop and just think and remember that it's not just you.
Yeah.
Right?
And this week, it's I think I'm one of the nicest dudes around, easygoing guys, and I don't think of anyone different. I look at everyone equal, but even me at this week, it had me thinking about what can I do differently? And then just listen to the people's stories and stuff like that, and just not thinking about the day-to-day stuff that I don't have to deal with. It kind of sucks. It puts things into perspective. That's kind of all I can really say about it.
So, there's no good way to kind of transition out of that. I mean...
continuing on with the actual Sony, we don't have a date. It's delayed indefinitely. But a lot of the things that have been delayed seem to be a week. I know IGN's Summer of Games was supposed to start this week. They've released that date now. It's June 12th, I believe, without looking at the story. A couple other of those things have been delayed by a week. Cyberpunk's night show, whatever that is, was delayed. They have another date for that. So I'm assuming we might see it on next Thursday. But of course, we have to see the state of the world at that point, and see maybe what else we can add to this crazy fucking 2020.
Let's be done.
The best meme I've seen all this week was what dyslexic Mayan put 2012 instead of 2021. That's the end of the world.
Yeah, oh God. The PlayStation 5. I mean, you had shared a story that there were ads running on ESPN for the event. So
yeah, I saw the story on ESPN, and funny enough, I saw it on it's like a YouTube ad or a Twitch ad, one of the two, when I was watching a stream. But yeah, they were heavily kind of fucking advertising that, and they were trying to make it a big deal. And that's something that Microsoft really hasn't done. As far as them being transparent, and it's funny because I've been listening to not Beyond, the PS I Love You from Kind of Funny, and Greg brings up a point that I haven't really thought about. It seems like Microsoft just wants to dominate the conversation, but all it takes is for one, if when in a boxing match, you throw jabs to try to weaken your opponent, but all it takes is one punch to sway the whole match or the whole fight, and this could be the fucking the haymaker that swings the tides of all this if PlayStation does it right. And there's all kinds of rumors from smaller YouTube channels that might have an inside scoop and all this. I keep seeing Demon Souls might be ending the show or is going to be part of the show. All these big haymakers they can swing in this conference, where it's almost like a Year of Dreams from 2015 again. So it's interesting, and it just seems like the ad campaign was just kind of building to that haymaker. So when this finally does come, and at the appropriate time, as eager as I am, it of course has to come at the appropriate time. I'm excited, and I think I'm even more excited than I was going into it this week. Weirdly enough, so we'll see.
Is it weird that predicting Gran Turismo 7 is the thing that got me the most hyped for that? And up until, it got delayed, all I was thinking about is how excited I was to see Gran Turismo 7.
I mean, it's not... I mean, you're going to get the car game. Yeah, I mean, actually, Project Cars 3 was just announced, so this week. It's not in our news feed, but I saw that. It's I don't know. Any of those first-party games that we know and love, or at least I know and love, would get me excited. A Horizon 2 at launch would, it's an easy day one buy for me for PlayStation 5 now. A Spider-Man 2, another easy. I think I'm getting it at launch anyway, despite maybe they're not there, but it makes it that much easier to know. All right, I'm gonna get a Horizon game that I know I'm gonna probably spend 30 to 40 hours in. Yeah. Easy enough. So.
Well, the thing too that it's funny because we talked last week about how our friend Kyle got an Xbox One. And oddly enough, that's the thing that makes me want to buy a PS5 more, is because I know that, like, yeah, I have an Xbox One S. It's not the whatever, but between that and PC, I don't need an Xbox Series X this fall.
Yeah, I've been thinking, and I know we talk about this every week, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to get a day one, but like, the more I think about it, the more, I don't know, it depends, I think, what everyone else does, and what the functionality of crossplay looks like at that point. And, you know, I think a big part of getting the Xbox at launch is going to be Halo, right?
Yeah.
If you are playing it on Xbox, but you don't, like, if you don't get a Series X and you play on your S and you think like it runs fine, like, all right, well, I'll just play on the, like, you know, like, that's the only game I really want that's exclusive to Xbox at launch. But then, you know, but if crossplay is available, then I just fucking boot up, and, you know, my PC might not be the equivalent of a Series X, but it's damn near close, or maybe surpassing. I don't know, like I don't know the hardware that well. So, like, you know, Xbox is in a weird place, and PlayStation seems to be very much like, no, this is the next iteration, and it's going to start on that date. And these are the games that you're going to be able to play on PlayStation 5 only, and whatever. So, I don't know. Well, once again, we have to see what the haymaker of a conference or presentation looks like when it comes.
Yeah. Speaking of when it comes, Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield Isle of Armor expansion coming June 17th. It's the first half of that expansion pass announced earlier this year. I am still impressed with this from a kind of change perspective, right? Like, they used to have annual games, but they were always, it'd be the third in a series, right? You'd be buying a whole brand new game, and now they're adding different content. So I like this from that perspective. I was watching a show the other day, and they were playing like a Pokemon knockoff, and for a second, I was like, I'm going to re-download Pokemon Sword. And then I thought about it, and like, it's like, nah, I'm good. Like, I don't know if it was that game in particular, because that's the crazy thing. Is like, Pokemon Sword is really well made. It's really well done. It looks the greatest that it's ever, like, across the board. It's, you know, it probably is one of the best ones they've made. Obviously, you have your favorites for different reasons, but like, technically speaking, it's a really good
it's
Pokemon
well put
game.
together. I like, you know, the biggest change that I liked, and this just started with Let's Go, was the random encounters. Like, I like that you just approach the Pokemon if you want them.
Yeah.
You know, Let's Go was it was very much Pokemon Go with the way you threw the Pokeball, and that's good for the casual and just for collecting the Pokemon. I do like the battle system. Honestly, it's been pretty much the same battle system since Red. I mean, there's been little additions here, and now you have giant Pikachus, but like, it's essentially the core menus and all that stuff. Yeah,
and that was the thing about this. Like, it's still so rooted in what makes Pokemon, but it has all the modern thing. I mean, the fact that like they removed the hidden machines and all that stuff that you don't need anymore. Yeah. But honestly, it was playing that one where I was like, oh shit, this feels like a kid's game. Like, it felt like for the first time at 30, like, maybe I don't need to play this. But I am still excited that Isle of Armor is happening and coming out. And if you've been waiting for it, June 17th is your release date.
I forgot to text her beforehand, but I actually just texted Victoria because she is my Pokemon person I go to. And she said, yes, she's excited for this because she's already done everything. However, she's going to play Animal Crossing more because she's addicted to that.
Yeah, that's kind of...
So I guess I'll echo her feelings.
As Animal Crossing continues to just be Blathers wishing he could add all fossils to his personal collection. And
man. Dude, talking about falling off a fucking cliff of a game, man. I haven't touched that in weeks.
I still check in every day, but it's like I go in, I dig up my fossils. I had a big breakthrough with Animal Crossing this week, though. Iggly moved to town. So he's not rolled, but Iggly's my second fave. So that was... Normally you turn it on and Isabel's like, looks like there's no news today. Did you catch that detective show on TV last night? But one day she was like, there's somebody at the campsite. And I was like, great, some fucking dumbass that I don't want in my town anyway. And I opened it up and it's fucking Iggly, and I like lit up, dude. Ear to ear. I was like, all right, what do I got to do to get this man onto my island? What do I have to burn down? What do I have to do? So
whose dick do I have to suck?
Huh?
Whose dick do I have to suck? Yeah.
I whip it out, man. I'm ready for Iggly. So I got Iggly, and it's been great. Now we're friends. I gave him a muscle shirt last night, and he like almost melted. His house is made of ice, which is also cool on the inside. Like
Iggly,
literally, the inside.
Igloo. I get it.
It's just the fucking best. So that was a nice little peek. That kept me back in. But then I was like, all right, let's go to Blathers. Same shit. Let's go fishing. I caught a sea bass. Great.
C+.
Game Gear Micro announced this week. Releases October 6th in Japan. Comes in 4 models: black, blue, yellow, and red. Each Game Gear Micro will have its own set of 4 different games. They are 4,980 yen a piece, or you can buy the 4-color set, get all of them in one bundle for 29,980 yen. It's about $300. And that'll include the big window micro as a bonus. If you remember, the Game Gear had, just like the Game Boy, had the big magnifier you could buy for it. So they're doing a micro version of that you can attach to these guys. I looked at it, Matt, and I was like, this is cool, but the fact that it's Japan only means to be a pain in the ass to import. Like, I just started thinking about that, and I'm like, do I really need to? But I kind of
like it's cool, but like it's not realistic to play. Like, look at the size of that screen. I'm assuming that the picture that we have here on Slack is a human hand holding that.
Oh yeah.
How the fuck are you supposed to see?
I mean, dude, Game Boy Micro, best of the Game Boy Advance. Well, the best is probably the AG, or the original one with a backlit mod. But
dude, I don't know. It probably. To be fair, I mean, it probably does have the pixel count of the Royal Farms Arena big Tron. And I say that as that Tron, I think, it displays images at 480i. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's way too. First of all, I already don't like that fucking controller that you have, that mini boy. I already don't like that. So, like, adding. First of all, I think it's probably as big as that, and then you add a screen that's just like even smaller than that. It's like, yeah, no thanks.
It is a tiny boy. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I don't know if I'm gonna get one or not, but
I mean, here I am. I'm bitching about a single Joy-Con, and I'm supposed to hold and play a game on that. Like, yeah, no thanks.
Oh yeah, this is
cool. It's cool. It's definitely not for me though.
It's a weird thing.
It's from Japan. Like, that explains everything you need to know.
Well, but the thing was, like, Sega kind of teased this announcement back in March, or maybe even earlier than that, about, hey, it's Sega's 60th anniversary this year, so there's going to be, we're leading up to June 3rd to talk about Sega and the future of Sega. And they started this Go Sega campaign, and you can go to I think it's go.sega.com or something like that. And it's got all the 60th anniversary stuff. You can play through like a historical rewind of everything from point of inception all the way till today. So June 3rd hits, and it was like, I've been waking up super early, like between like 5 and 6, and so at that time it's like the end of the news cycle in Japan. So I'm waking up and I'll like look at Famitsu, or usually Gematsu is pretty good about having Japanese news as well. So I look at both of them and just kind of see what's going on, and I see this fucking Game Gear Micro was announced, and I was like, what the shit? I'm like, all right, so yeah, today's June 3rd. What else we got? Like, what's the big deal? And if you recall, last week we talked about that journalist from Famitsu who was going to have the big wired PS5 level exclusive in the magazine this week, and it was Fog Gaming. Did you read about this at all? I didn't share it at all because I couldn't find like a definitive translation just yet about this. So this might be a story we kind of hang on to until next week, until more details come out. Because Sega technically hasn't officially announced it. It's just been part of this Famitsu article and then people talking about it a little bit. But essentially, Sega announced something called Fog Gaming, where they're going to turn arcades into data centers.
All right.
There's been some there's been some like varied reports where it's like some people are saying, hey, you're gonna be able to play arcade games at home, and then there's other people who are saying that's not the case. Like, so there's some back and forth about like what actually is happening. You're not gonna be playing cloud games in the arcades. Basically, you'll be using the arcade machines as local data centers for cloud gaming service. So think about Google Stadia, but they're going to use Sega's 300 plus arcades as the data center. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah. I mean, an arcade machine at this point is just a chip inside of this huge box at this point, like the way computers are. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I think that's a cool idea, and it's probably one way to keep. One way, it's probably if the funding and the way they split the revenue. Like, it probably is a good way to keep arcades alive too. Yeah, I think that's a big piece of it. Yeah, there's back and forth. Like, there's some sites that say they're not. This one specifically says. This way, players at home will be able to play arcade games anytime through cloud gaming. It's unclear if this would work on PC, existing platforms, something similar to Stadia, or a brand new platform. So I don't know. Players will supposedly be connected to game centers closer to their homes to reduce delay, but this is only speculation. So yeah, a lot of it, like, until someone has actually gone through and translated that Famitsu article, I don't feel like we know the complete story just yet. Yeah. But that was the big scoop of the week. And the 60th anniversary announcement, which is kind of like, all right. Well, I mean, in America, arcade machines are definitely not what they used to be. But, they're still big, or big enough. I don't know. So I'm just going to assume big enough for this to be a big deal over there. The crazy thing, I mean, when I think of arcades in America today, I think about old machines that are in places like when we go, out to the crab place and play there. So it's usually going to be older machines that are maintained through the years, or a place like a Dave & Buster's that has the modern machines, but they're not necessarily. I feel like, and this might be a little reductive, but I feel like a lot of the stuff I see at a Dave & Buster's is stuff. They're all kind of the same game in the end, right? It's all about spend your money, which, if you want to be super reductive, all arcade machines are, right? But they're more entertainment than they are games. Yeah, I mean, the goal is to buy their currency, to then spend that currency, to get tickets, to turn the tickets into their currency, to get $15 worth of tickets for a piece of gum. Exactly. And in Japan, I didn't go to many when I was there, but the few that I went to, like, I went to a Sega. I think I went to 2 different Sega ones. There are multiple floors, like, and there are machines like the ones you'd see at Dave & Buster's, but like there are all of these like crazy arcade machines that we just don't get here. Like the one Sega arcade we went to there was a House of the Dead, like a brand new House of the Dead that I'd never heard of, right there, ready to go. Like, it's the next in line of the House of the Dead series. I'm like totally blanking on everything. The one I went to in Shinjuku, the first section of it was literally just all UFO catchers. You'd walk in and it was just huge, like giant. They weren't like the small, like I'm used to the ones we have here. Like you go to play a little crane game and it's like a small, it's like a box, right? Like a telephone booth sized. The ones there, it's like you could fit, it looks like a fucking dunking tank. Like you could put a person inside of it, but it's these huge giant things. And those are the ones you can actually download the app on your phone. Mark did this. You can download the app, pay an actual $1 in-app purchase, and you control the thing in Japan right now in an arcade. Oh yeah, I've seen these. Yeah. And then if you win, they'll actually mail it to you. So, anywho, yeah, they're big there, and they're
there's a lot of machines. Like the one we went to wasn't a Sega one, but it had a whole wall of Dissidia cabinets. Like there's still shit happening there on a bigger level than what we have here, I think.
Yeah, and like even like the traditional, like I always think whenever my first thought when you say arcade is immediately the Ocean City, Maryland Boardwalk.
Mm-hmm.
Like even them have been converted into like Dave and Buster knockoffs at this point. So like it really is just like you have your old school renovated cabinets, or you have Dave and Buster's experience. Which, like, the Dave and Buster's experience is not a terrible experience. Like, I still go there. I still have fun. I do like when they do get their hands on a unique cabinet or a new cabinet. Like, I've never played the giant Tomb Raider machine, but like that is a huge fucking screen. That's kind of cool, the Halo one, for as generic as the gameplay on the Halo thing, is still fucking cool to be in that little like structure they built with the 4-way seating. So
yeah, it's an experience for sure.
Yeah. So like it's not all bad. It's I just wish there was like more variety to it besides just that, because a third of Dave and Buster's is just those video game cabinets. 2/3 of it is the all right. Well, here's this Spider-Man clone thing, but it's essentially just Temple Run for you to get tickets.
Right, and that's the stuff where it's like, man.
So,
yeah. So we'll see what happens with that, but I don't know. I kind of expected some game announcements of some kind, like because what else has Sega got at this point?
There are arcade cabinets, really.
Yeah, with earlier it was supposed to be at South by Southwest before South by Southwest got canceled, but there was supposed to be a Sonic panel there, and that was the one a few years ago where like a lot of Sonic games were announced. So we still haven't seen any of that stuff. We do know that there's at least one Sonic project coming next year for the 30th anniversary of Sonic. That sounds weird, but yeah. But Matt, there is also a new game featuring PlayStation's most recognizable mascot, Toro. On June 23rd, a match 3 puzzle game called Toro and Friends Onsen Town, coming to America. Are you excited?
I might fucking download it.
Yeah, me too.
Why not?
Yeah. I do want to try. I want to see. PlayStation has not made many efforts in the mobile space. There was like a Sackboy Run title, and I don't know. I feel like that Uncharted card game on Vita might have been a good phone game, but alas.
The quickly forgotten 6th Uncharted game.
Yeah, exactly. No one wants to remember it.
Actually, it's the 7th. Sorry, it's the 7th. I forgot about the Vita one.
Oh, yeah, that one too. Sony band represent. Speaking of forgotten games, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning is coming August 18th to the personal computer, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One from your friends at THQ Nordic. Are you going to give it a shot this time, Matt?
I gave it a shot last time when it became.
Did you like it last time?
When it became free on Plus, and that once again. Also, when we get to Now Play, I'm going to fucking go back on what I'm saying here, but this type of genres doesn't do it for me. Yeah, I got through like the tutorial like cave or whatever, and it's just
This was a crazy project because this was the one that was funded by Kurt Schilling.
Yep.
That featured character designs by Todd McFarlane and world building by R.A. Salvatore, I think.
That all sounds right.
Which was, meant to be a cool-ass dream project. And I think it was. It was just, I think it fell victim of THQ. And that one didn't do so hot sales-wise. And then you had that whole weird thing with the state of Rhode Island. Like, that was such a weird property. And now...
Like, it's cool to see that it's getting, like, a remaster. But then, like, Jason Schreier's tweet about it, about, like, where do the profits of this game go to? Like, it makes it very real, like, shit. It brings back those bad memories.
Yeah, because I saw the developer name on it, now I don't have it in front of me, but the developer name was not, because it was Big Huge Games that did it originally.
Oh, yeah, but they're not around anymore.
No, they are.
Oh, they are?
They're still here. Yeah, they're up the street, technically. but they're
right.
I forget what they're making.
Right, that's the one.
Yeah,
one of the ones up the street. I'm trying to find the thing here. I just see THQ Nordic, but THQ Nordic. Oh, Kaiko, developed by Kaiko. Kaiko.
Yeah, big, huge making. They got Dominations is the latest game.
There's no way.
iOS.
Microsoft.com is having the approximate size as 100 megs.
It's probably for preload. Because Microsoft does that weird shit where they're like, hey, we have a bunch of new games on Game Pass. And you're like, oh, sick. And then it's like, you could, pre-install Wasteland 3 and it'll be out in December. And you're just preloading the smallest little bit. We mentioned it before, Slay the Spire coming to iOS this month. Intended to be announced at the Guerrilla Collective show on June 6th. For $10 out on iOS. You talked about that one the other week as you were starting The Witcher. Have you gone back to it at all?
No, I haven't gone back to it
on mobile.
But yeah, if it comes mobile, depending on the price, like that is an easy. Like I talked about having a card game on my iPad. That's a fucking it right here. I mean, it's its own unique thing. Yeah, it depends. Once again, it depends on pricing, but I would jump back into it. I have fun. It's just, it's just not something you sit down for 4 hours with.
Yeah.
But it's perfect, and like to do a run in like a half an hour, I think that's perfect.
So no word on that now. I mean, that's going to be kind of changing as it goes. I would assume we'd know something by next podcast, but we'll see. But that's out on iOS first and Android later. Electronic Arts has launched over 25 games on Steam. We had that announcement late last year that Steam would be a new home or a returning home for EA, as well as extending that to EA Access. So there's 25 games now for purchase, and I believe they're at a discounted rate for launch, some of them or all of them.
Most of them.
And then EA Access will join Steam later this summer, which is EA's kind of Game Passy style service.
Yeah, it's not as good as Game Pass because you usually don't get like new releases. What you end up getting is like a certain, at least that's what they've done with Anthem, and I feel like Mass Effect was like a earlier 7-day pre-release thing, or that demo. They get that a playable demo as well.
You get, so I mean, it's been different case by case, but, and I only know this from Anthem because I was like, maybe before we knew that Anthem was what it was. There's tiers to EA Access. I don't know if it's silver and gold, but let's just say it's silver and gold. So there's one that's like, $5 a month, and there's another that's $15 a month.
Yeah.
The $5 a month one is the one that gets you like basic access and didn't include Anthem at launch. Then there was the gold tier or whatever that did include Anthem. But even that was still, and Anthem had that whole weird like 6-way chart that, you had to roll a D20 in order to get the...
It was almost as confusing as Nintendo with the DS.
Oh, and the different names and iterations.
Yeah.
And this one doesn't fold. This one has 3D. This one doesn't. Sony has been ordered to pay $3.5 million in penalties. So this comes from the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission chair. 4 consumers believed they had purchased a faulty PlayStation game, called in, and a customer service representative told them that Sony Europe was not required to refund the game once it had been downloaded, or if 14 days had passed since it was purchased. And the chair challenged that, citing customer guarantee rights under Australian consumer law. This story is interesting because it kind of starts to maybe set a precedent moving forward for what could happen with refunds in games and things like that. The thing that was pointed out here specifically is that they were challenging Sony of Europe, who's selling to Australian customers. And I think Sony's pushback initially was that it's a European-based entity that doesn't abide by that, but Australia says if you're selling to Australian clients, then you have to abide by Australian law. And they cited a previous proceeding with Valve and the same kind of thing back in 2018. So because of that, that might start to extend to other companies and other things. I mean, we're slowly getting to the point where I think digital purchases for the most part, refunds are just unheard of.
Or like refunds back directly to your wallet.
That too. And that was the other piece of this too, is that Sony, when pushed, was offering one consumer PlayStation credit, basically, instead of a full cash refund. In Australia, challenged that or countered that and said, no, it needs to be in whatever cash value was originally tendered.
I mean, I talked about it back in like December when it happened, but like when I bought Battlefront 2 and I tried to install it and it just wouldn't work. Like it took, by the time I did all the troubleshooting steps and I kept reinstalling like the fucking 30, 40 gigs, like, yeah, I probably could have done it sooner, but like it took me about a month for me to finally be like, I've tried everything but restoring my PlayStation. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So like when I went to initiate the refund, they gave me pushback of like, well, it's been 14 days. And I was like, well, like the fucking game's not working. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. And I'm not restoring my PlayStation. I really don't even want to play this game. I bought it because it was like $8. And
right.
Someone at work said they might play. Actually, it was Kyle. Kyle said he might play it with me. So, so like that was the entire reason I bought it. And it didn't work, and I tried every troubleshooting step I knew, and I still got pushback. And yeah, the credit, despite me paying for it, not with a credit that I had already coming out of my wallet, they just gave it to me in PSN, which for me it's fine because I know I'll eventually reinvest it. But
sure.
Still, and then I had that thing with PS Plus when they double charged me, or like I got charged for 2 years when it should have been 1 because the first one never went through and never said good to go. So I redid it, and then I got 2 years out of nowhere. And once again, they gave me $60 in PSN credit instead of putting it back to my wallet. Like that one hurt more.
Right.
It's just like, bro, your shit was broken both times. Like, give me my money back. So yeah,
I think it'll have to take like a widespread thing. Like, I'm not trying to bring up. I'm not asking for this, right? But something like the 2011 PSN outage, where that whole security breach and the aftermath of that, I think it'll take something of that level or magnitude before like a monumental shift can happen in those policies. Because right now you have stories like this where they occasionally get challenged, they pay $3.5 million and they move on because they probably make a lot more than $3.5 million from accidental purchases. Or people who buy things that never...
Probably just revenue off like Fortnite in-game purchases they get $3.5 million from, honestly.
Today. They just got it. In the time it took us to tell this news story.
Hashtag free V-Bucks.
Yeah. Fuck, man. Those were the days, huh?
It's funny, you talked about the PSN outage. I actually just had to bring that up with Victoria because she asked me who Anonymous was. And I was like, oh boy, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you how they impacted my life.
Yeah, that time. Death Come True. We talked about this probably 6 or 7 months ago, but from the Danganronpa creator. It's like that FMV live action.
Yeah, like choose your own path kind of thing. I
think our elevator pitch we talked about back then was like Until Dawn, but by the Danganronpa dude.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be out June 25th.
Come on, Switch, I think, right?
Switch
first. I think it was a Switch first, and then other stuff later. It was Switch and something else first. It might be PC.
And then it's also coming to iOS and Android.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. Danganronpa is fucking crazy. Now, just put that into an FMV. Why not?
Yeah. No, this looked cool when I first watched that trailer a few months back. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Bloodborne, Matt. Bloodborne.
I do love talking about a good Bloodborne.
There's a couple of rumors happening, but not a couple, but a couple different sources, rather. The rumor is that Bloodborne Remaster is coming to PC and PS5 soon, being developed by Q-Lock and Bluepoint Games. It'll include better textures and models, better loading times, and more quality of life improvements. 60 frames per second, 4K, ultra-wide support for those who have an ultra-wide monitor. And apparently coming to Steam.
$60, $100, $120, it will be on my PC.
All right.
And this is the run, right? Because everyone talks about I forget the fucking thing. It's the magic run, essentially. Whatever they call the magic here, or the arcane run. I haven't done an arcane run, and so this would be the perfect excuse to do an arcane run.
All right, you've challenged me there, because I was gonna say I'm not excited about this, and I know that sounds like blasphemy coming from me, but I played it, right? And I love Bloodborne. Believe me, I love Bloodborne.
We know. I mean, I do too.
But I kind of want to see what new is out there.
If I want to play Elden, you're getting all right.
I know,
coming.
But like, I would rather see a Bloodborne 2 than... This is good, right? Because this is going to bring it to a whole new audience, and more people will be able to play it. Obviously,
and then you can point out to Jim Ryan, look at the sales. Look at them.
Yeah, but then he'll counter
look at it. Look at it.
You can... It's because they spent time to remaster it, and it's not an old game, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Look, man, when I see it, I'm sure I'll melt, and I'll be ready to buy it. But I don't know. I'm not as impressed with that. It's cool. I want to see it.
Not like the only thing that could impact me getting this and playing it is like it releases around something else I want to play that's brand new. Like that's the only way I don't buy this day one and try to beat it within like the first 3 days of me owning it, which I probably can do at this point, in limited time. I mean, I can get the Gascoigne pretty fucking fast. It's just a matter if I can beat Gascoigne in with my low level.
I'm going to go with probably not. I don't mean because of you. I just mean because Gascoigne, it's impossible.
It's tough. I mean, I just got to get the parry timing down again. That's all.
Yeah, because you walk out of Cleric Beast feeling a sense of confidence, and you walk in there, and then he moves way faster.
Nah, you skip Cleric Beast nowadays.
Huh?
Just skip the Cleric Beast.
Yeah, that too.
Go through the sewers.
So we'll see. Maybe that was supposed to be at the PlayStation event. We'll find out.
I'll fucking take it. And then, I'll take a splash screen for Bloodborne 2 or after it.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the bigger announcement.
Also would take... Well, you see, I don't think they're going to show Elden Ring. There's no chance because it's been in front of Microsoft's stuff the entire time. And Sekiro was in front of Microsoft stuff, too, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you're going to get anything new with FromSoft at a PlayStation conference. Unless it's a IP that PlayStation owns, like Demon's Souls, and From has worked on it.
Sure.
But I think that's all Blue Point at this point.
Yeah. Our last little piece here, real quick. Summer Games Done Quick 2020 will be moving online. After its delay earlier this year, the annual speedrunning marathon will be happening... Is it still the same day? Sorry. August 16th through 23rd, starting at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Everything broadcast as normal, but it'll all be done remotely.
There's a couple of things there that, I'm sure they'll have to iron out, and I'm sure they will, but, like, you always have, like, the PA guy or a person that is calling out donations and things like that. And then you always have a panel as well that you can see. So those like the two things I'm curious about how they will do. I think the PA is easy enough, but the cast, like the panel, might be a little weird, and how I don't know how they will go about addressing that, if they even do it at all. But like usually
they've been doing some streams.
Huh?
They've been doing some streams through the official channel. What the fuck? And it's been... I watched a piece of one. I'm not going to say I sat down and watched the whole thing, but they have done one or multiple streams that are remote that still have some of the live donations. Like, it's not the same feeling. It's not the, it's impossible for it to be that.
No, but neither is watching a baseball game with an empty stadium and stuff like that. I mean, you just have to adjust with these times, which, that's fine. Like, at least they're doing it, and they can go ahead and raise the money for, it's usually Doctors Without Borders?
It's what it has been for a really long time. Let's see. Right now, I'm
just going to assume is that because it has been that. I feel like for the last.
That's one of the two they always give to.
The last
primarily
3 years with both events.
The other one was Prevent Cancer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't say specifically.
Nah, but if you watch the stream, you'll know. They say it enough. Always a good cause.
Yeah,
and they're always fun to watch too. It's always fun to see there's any good awkward moments. Like that's a glitch.
That's a classic.
Will you please be quiet? Like all that stuff is always good. But no, the runs themselves are pretty incredible, and like usually there's always at least one that does break a world record, and that's always cool to watch live. So I know the Sekiro community has broken through with a lot of stuff. I'm curious to see if the Sekiro would be there. Always look at the roster for my man Bonesaw, free Bonesaw. I always like to look at that list of games. I can't bring myself to watch one of like the 10-hour ones though. Like I do want to watch the Final Fantasy VII one and see how the hell they break the game, but like I can't sit there for 10 hours.
I'm not going to say that I've watched those. I've had them on. Like I watched the 7 and I watched the 6 one. But like here's when you do it. Honestly, it's when no one is around and you have some game that you can play with something on in the background. Because I don't know what I was playing. It was years ago, whenever that Final Fantasy VI run happened that like led up till 4 a.m. But I sat down like 8 o'clock at night, put it on whenever it started. And I had been watching it all day or whatever. And then that run started and I'm playing whatever I was playing. And like occasionally I just like stop and look up and see what was going on. And at one point they had like someone in full choir attire. Like they were doing the whole opera. When they got to the opera scene in Final Fantasy VI with Ultros and everything, they had live people acting out the opera right there. That was, but you're not going to get that on any of these streams. Or if you do, I'm curious to see how that would be cleverly handled. But yeah, that is it. So we'll see what happens this week with announcements. Currently scheduled for the week, there is a Destiny 2 reveal scheduled for June 9th. I'm opening that site right now just to make sure that hasn't been changed. June 9th at noon. So that'll probably be the fall expansion more than likely, and kind of setting the stage for what the next year of Destiny 2 looks like. Dude, I'm going to watch it because I'm curious, but I have no interest in playing that game, and I don't know why.
It comes in waves. I haven't had that wave yet because I feel like Call of Duty has kind of taken over right now, but I still didn't play the expansion from last fall yet, and I still got that. So I don't know. Like I wouldn't mind having like 2 new expansions at one time when I get the feeling to come back to it. But I'm not. I'll watch if if I'm at home, which I probably will be. I don't see me returning to work anytime soon here.
I want to see what that looks like, but I don't know. They were leaning. They got way more MMO-y. It started by them a year ago in this similar fashion of the Destiny 2 reveal for last fall, literally calling it an MMO for the first time. Once they broke free of Activision and they could do that. And then you started to see those trappings come into the game, and it was like, I don't know that I want to do this anymore.
Look, all I'm saying is they can't be concerned about install size anymore when you see the fucking behemoth that Call of Duty is. I mean, it's getting backlash for it, but sure. But another good tweet I saw, Ask PlayStation was like, hey, here's tips to if your hard drive is full, here are tips to this, or this is how you get rid of stuff. And everyone was like, tell that to Activision.
Yeah, I mean, how much? Okay, so my base PS4, day one, 500 gigs. You, like, accounting for what the system needs, like 60 of that, because I think you end up with like 440. A quarter of that would be Warzone if I had that installed. Is that right?
I'm looking up on PlayStation's.
I think it's like 120 gigs.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Which is nuts.
Hold on, I must have it right here. Yeah, on PC it's 175 gigs.
Jesus.
Oh, on PS4, if you just want Warzone, it's between 83 to 101. If you own Modern Warfare, it will come out to 165.
Nah. I'm good.
That's according to IGN.
I'm good to go with that. I think we are good to go for a break here. Now that news is behind us, we will come back. We've got some what we've been playing, and you don't want to miss our 60th anniversary Sega celebration. And by that, I'm overhyping it. We're just going to talk about Sega and what it means to us. That's it. It's nothing crazy. We don't have some hot scoop. It's just
we already gave away our hot scoop. The Game Gear Micro.
Yeah, that's the one. That's exclusive here.
In fall gaming, which we had a hell of a time trying to explain that.
Because time will tell. We'll be right back after this short message from the song you're listening to. Matt, it is time for Now Playing, a segment in this podcast where we talk about the games we played in the last week. I slipped into a little quick session of an upcoming video game called Ninjala. Remember this one?
Switch Boy.
Yeah. They had a couple weeks back. There was like it wasn't called a test fire, but it was the same thing that they did for Splatoon, where it was like, hey, it's free, try it. Give us feedback. Let's test the servers, that kind of thing. And they had that last Sunday, I think. I don't remember when. But I jumped in and played, I think, 2 or 3 rounds. It's like Melee Battle Royale, 8 players. But it's not, when I say Battle Royale, I don't mean like elimination. But it's just kind of like in that style of like you're in it's like a free-for-all, beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's cool. I was surprised at how well I did, and then it kind of made me think that I'm probably playing with a lot of kids, like, or people who don't know what they're doing, which I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like hanging. Like the matches I did, I think I came in second, but almost first, third, and then fourth. So it's not bad. Or I wasn't bad, rather, getting acquainted to it. You get to choose your character at the beginning. They have these kind of presets, but what I found was kind of cool is that any of those presets, you can change up their hair, the color of their hair, color of skin, all that stuff, which was neat. And you can change... I don't know if this is going to be for the full release or not, but you could change the weapon that you have from the start. And obviously, this is a free-to-play game, so you'll be unlocking a lot of that stuff cosmetically as you go through and changing it out then. But I think I had 3 different weapons to choose from. There's like a big old bat looking kind of thing, I don't know how to describe it, but it was like a flat. It's the one you kind of see, like the standard thing in all of their pictures. I had
okay. All right.
Yeah, there was something else I don't remember, and then there was a basketball. So I used the basketball. I thought that was kind of fun. You like would like kind of throw it at people, and then it would slingshot back to you. And Ninjala has this kind of, it is Splatoon kind of cartoony, cute, fun playing, but it has a bubblegum motif to it. So your ZL button will blow a huge bubble in front of you. And then depending on the button combination you add to it, you can then do something with that bubble. So you can either like throw it at someone to kind of like hit them and slow them down, or you can use it to jump and jump higher, like those types of things. There's wall running, so any wall, you just keep running right into it and you run straight up it, and that becomes a tactical thing. And I think that's the part where the meta can start to get kind of cool, because it was a lot of ground play from me too. Like I had to keep reminding myself that we could go on the walls, and I think that was the same for a lot of people. But I noticed that people that were doing well were starting to get on the walls, but even they weren't sticking to it. But I feel like you'll get to a point where, like Rocket League or something, where you just look
exactly
at
what I was thinking about.
And it's like the good people know how to use every space of the map, right? And that'll be interesting. So it was cool. The part that I didn't love, and you definitely won't love, is the scoring at the end. Because as you're playing, you're like, and you tell me when this starts to sound familiar. You're playing and you're kind of keeping track, right? You're like, all right, I
think I already know what you're referring to, but go ahead.
I got a good number of kills here. I forget what they call the kills, knockouts or something like that.
Yeah.
By the way, great kill animation, because when you kill somebody, it like propels them across the map like splat style, but it then like slams them into the wall with gum. It's like a weird little effect. Right. It's neat. You get to the end, you're like, cool, I know I had so many KOs, and then the game mode they had available in this, I think there's going to be multiple game modes, but there's also these like big robot heads, and you have to beat the robot heads until they explode, and you get points from that, and you get like little, you build up your meter. When you have a larger meter, you can do different attacks, it's different attacks and different, there's something else that it affects, and I can't remember what it is now, I'm sorry. But either way, you get score added to you for killing so many robot heads, in addition to knocking out your opponents. And at the very end, they give out bonus points.
Yep. Here we go.
To the people with the most kills, to the people who destroyed the most whatever heads. So I ended one of the matches in second place, and I was like, yes, yes, yes. And then it was like, hey, also, this person had more, so it just bumped me down and bumped me down. I was like,
this person landed on more red spaces than you.
It was that kind of feeling, and I was like, Mario Party. My note literally says here, Mario Party fuckery with scoring at the end. But I think it was a good like complication of techniques at play with different weapon varieties and combat options available to you. It was really, I think the options is what makes this game stand out. Because at first, when we first saw that direct, it was like, oh, you did like a Splatoon thing, huh? And it's very easy to compare this to Splatoon because it has that same kind of charm to it. But
yeah,
it's an obvious different beast. I think it's cool. I think give it a shot when it comes out. I know it got delayed a little. Did it get delayed to the end of June? Now I'm not even sure.
Nintendo's website has released June 24th, 2020.
Okay, I think it was meant to come out May 27th. Then it got delayed to June 24th. So yeah, it's free to play. It'll only cost you your time.
It's not bad. Nothing wrong with that.
And then before I hand it over to you for The Witcher, I did stick with some Monster Hunter this week. That one got the tiniest bit stale for me. I started to I was like, all right, same monster, same whatever. And then I think I talked about that last week where it started to do that. And then I got that new...
You got like a new like world or something, a new area.
And I got that, and then I got another one right following that. So now I've got these two other parts of the map. I think I've now, since then, unlocked a third. And it's this fascinating thing where you are walking through the world, and some of the main story beats you have to follow. It tells you to go to a certain map and not hunt, but locate a specific monster. And sometimes you'll do that by accident. You'll just find a monster and you're like, ooh, what's that? And there's those times, like just like the T-Rex, where AI characters will tell you, like, stay away from that, get away, run, don't engage with that. So you kind of have this ingrained fear of whatever that monster is, to stay away from it. You can't take this on. You are not ready for this. And then there's a mission where it's like, it is time to hunt that thing. So the one I had, did I talk about the ice dragon at all?
It was like a Rathalos type thing.
Oh, not that one.
Okay, then no, you didn't.
Okay, so this guy, I stumbled upon him at some point, and he's like a big, scaly, like a dragon, but he has ice all down his back. Excuse me, I have like dust or something in my nose. It keeps making me like. He's got ice like all down his back, and he does this thing where he kind of attacks you the way he attacks you, but he does a front flip and like sprays ice out all in front of him. And when he does that, if you're caught in it, you become slowed. You can still move, but you're super slow. Mm-hmm. So it leaves you really vulnerable to attacks. And the first time I was kind of wandering, I found him by accident. I was hunting something else. And I was like, I can take him. Wrong. The next time I went to that map, I'm fighting a different thing, and that motherfucker flies in and starts fighting the thing I'm taking down. So I just kind of stood back, let them go at it for a while until they both flew away, and then I chased after the one I had to chase after. Now I had a mission where it was like, we can't set up our next base. We can't move forward until that guy's gone. So you gotta go get him. So I moved in, hunted him. And there is something about that where you once were terrified of a monster and now you understand it and you can overcome it. Like, there's such a good feeling, so satisfying in that game about that. The part I don't like about this game that I'm realizing is there are certain monsters that will start to cry further into the match or further into the fight with them. Because at first they come at you aggressive as shit. They're really, intense. And there's a point where like they start to stagger and they're like physically like limping or dragging themselves. They might be drooling a bit, but there's some that start to let out these like soft cries as you're like getting close to the final blows. And it makes me not want to finish the fight because I'm like, no, why am I hurting this poor guy? I think that make them scary the whole time so it doesn't feel bad at the end. But I guess it's, yeah, it's that little reminder. I didn't talk about this at all last week, but there's different weapon types. And I tried out a few the first week with the game, and I've really stuck to and really appreciated the katana of all. So it's a long sword, and because they have regular swords, they have like dual wield swords. There's bows, there's charge axe, there's hammers. I think there's like 16 different weapon types you can have. And the longsword has been really, really cool. There's the standard, like, kind of like tap Y to slash. But then as you build up that meter with the katana, you can then pull the right trigger to do different attacks. And then adding that in combination with things. There's also like secret combos that aren't kind of right there, readily accessible in the button overlays. You have to like dig into the menus for that. And learning more of that with the katana. You get enough distance to kind of attack, but there's a lot of power behind it too, and it's fast. I tried a different like great sword, and it was really slow, so I ended up just kind of reverting to the katana. But and finally, I had to do the thing I really didn't want to, but I had to mix and match armor sets because I wanted to optimize the stats. You know what I mean?
I think I am such a minority. Like, I could care less what my person looks like as long as I got the best stuff. Like, I mean, we'll talk about The Witcher here in a second, but I got Geralt out there in, like, fucking teal top and yellow pants. Like, I don't fucking care, man. It's just, it's the best gear I got.
That's the thing. Like, I'm normally, I want the best looking, or I want the best stats, right? But I will, if something's, like, a little bit less powerful than the best of the best, I will, adhere to the trade-off because I want it to look cool.
Yeah, there is some cool shit in Bloodborne, but once again, I mixed and matched depending on the fight I was going in, man. I didn't care.
Yeah, you want to optimize for stuff like that, but there was a point where I'm like, all right, now I've got like bone legs, I've got blue dragon arms, I've got red dragon headpiece. Like, it's a fucking mess. But I really dig Monster Hunter.
Does that make you appreciate Destiny 2 a little bit more?
Even that, though, I had to do the same thing. That one I was always... I think because this one, in Monster Hunter, in most games, you kind of look at it piece by piece. Destiny, you could look at it piece by piece, but they always just had that light level. And it was always just about getting that number to be the highest. And they made such a prominent... Like, that is so boldly displayed where, like, Monster Hunter, they do have that overall number, but it's like... one number in a line of many other numbers. So it just kind of blurs right in with the UI. Destiny, that is the one. So when that number goes up, you feel good about it. But I'd still, dude, you remember me. When we jump into PvP maps, that deer mask was going on. I didn't give a fuck if it was 100 light levels lower. It was going on. And I was going to die. But it was okay because I looked cool. But yeah, that's Monster Hunter. I still recommend it. I definitely didn't play as much of it this week as I did last week, but I played a good chunk of it, and I'm still. It's a commitment. Like there was one night I did a run in it, and I got done whatever I did, and I walked upstairs. And I was like, "Hey, what time do you want to eat?" Because I wanted to make sure I wasn't gonna jump into a thing before stopping to go cook. Because you can't.
Yeah,
there's no pause. There's no, and it's funny because like the shit I always get is like, whenever I'm like in something, it's always, oh no, this is a boss fight, or sorry, I can't pause it. Like those are always my two excuses when I'm playing something, and it's often true. But like this game is always a boss fight, and you cannot pause it. Like it's,
Oh yeah, it's that. Yeah, because it's live.
It's even when I'm not playing online, like in an offline session, you can't pause the game. Like it's the clock's always ticking. So.
Oh God, I hate that. Oh God, PTSD from last year with fucking Wolfenstein.
Oh yeah, no. I
just want to read a piece of literature that I just picked up. Nope, can't because I'm getting shot at. God.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah. So I don't know if this worked, but like the other night, one of the dogs was scratching. To go out, and I can hear it from down here, and I'm in the middle of chasing something, and I was like, I don't know if it's gonna work, but I don't have an option. I gotta let the dog out, so I hit the Xbox button to like take it back to the dashboard, and I don't know if suspending it, I don't know if it actually did it, but I know that I came back and I wasn't dead, so I guess it worked, but I didn't check like the in-game timer to see. But yeah, that's the thing about that one. It's kind of like when you're sitting down, like, all right, I gotta. At worst, this is going to take me an hour. So, sometimes you wrap it up in 30 minutes or less or something, but definitely cool. Tell me about, you got into The Witcher a little bit with your sick teal and yellow outfit.
Yeah, not even a little bit, a lot. I played a lot of The Witcher this week, and it really is quite a game. There are aspects about it that show like it's a few years old when compared to like other open world things like that. But at his time, I'm sure I was doing things a little bit differently even then. I have to say the story, like The Witcher is such a weird thing because Geralt is just like a dude who is supposed to be a hire to kill monsters, but he gets himself involved in like all these things, and it's like, of course, it's like the world is like there's all these different warring factions and stuff like that, and so like you're very delicately like aligning yourself to certain people at certain times, and then you may get away from it or truly commit to them. And what I really like is like all this stuff it's all coming back together. And I got to like a bottleneck mission where it was pretty much like, hey, look, you're going into this area, but one, we recommend you save, and then two, some side quests will not be available after this point. And I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of polished up some stuff that I wanted to, but I left the stuff that didn't seem like coming, like side things coming from key major characters. So like I get through that part, and then the game does open back up again after a couple of missions or quests. And then, like, I've quickly realized that, like, the things I have done before that mission are coming back. And, either in a good way or a bad way or something like that. But I'm seeing literally all the mechanics, like, and all those decisions just flood back into the world now. And, I'm I'm probably approaching the end game. I'm not quite there yet, but like I'm really excited to see. Like I'm already starting to see some of those decisions of how I have aligned myself to people. I kind of want to see it like fully go there. And in like even the mission that was like, all right, like hey, this is like a bottleneck mission. Like be careful going into this if you haven't completed something. Even there, like some of the decisions I made like impacted that mission. And what I could do and how to prepare for this giant fight. So it's just really cool to see that. It really reminds me a lot of Mass Effect 2 in that way, or like even any of the Mass Effect games for it. But the reason why I compared to Mass Effect 2 is I did not play Mass Effect 1 because of the whole BioWare, and the first one was only published by Microsoft. So I had to play Mass Effect 2 with that comic, like the interactive comic. And they try to set up some key points for Mass Effect 1, but you're thrown into these scenarios without any context really with the characters. You don't get to build those relationships. You're just kind of making decisions, and then, those decisions do come back to you in Mass Effect 2, and you're trying, one, to understand this world, because this is your first time being exposed to it, but as a sequel to a very decision-heavy game, and you're making these decisions trying to, a lot of things are happening, and I'm getting that sense from The Witcher 3, because you can import your saves from, I think, The Witcher 2. So, thankfully, there's a lot of, character, dialogue options where it's like, wait, what is going on again? And then they give you, a brief explanation of, what maybe has happened in the world prior that you may have gotten from either one of the first two games. So, I find myself doing a lot of that of, all right, I kind of remember that character. Is it someone I ran into, or is it something that's been said before? Now, what's awesome is this game does have a huge, pretty much encyclopedia. It's they call it the glossary, but it really is an encyclopedia, because it talks about all the characters you've come, not necessarily come across, but just heard about. You got a whole bestiary where it talks about one, the Witcher contracts, but just general beasts and how to deal with them as best you can if you've picked up things or have encountered them before. So there's just a lot of resources there to try to catch up on everything, and I feel like I've gotten a good grasp of it took me a while, but I feel like I got a good grasp of who is warring with who, what is at stake. There's a point in the map where literally the side from the south and the side of the north are pretty much just touching their boundaries right there. So there's a lot of chaos there, and you see that you see that in this game, and it's just getting yourself getting it all under control and trying to figure it out without trying to make a mistake that if you had known prior to that point, you would have made a different decision. So there's a lot of that, and I haven't had to deal with that with something like that until Mass Effect 2. So, but no, overall, now that I've finally got my head wrapped around the world and what's going on and these key characters and stuff like that, I definitely feel like I'm invested into what's going on in his journey and Geralt and all his key players that are around him. So that's really fun. It makes me kind of want to watch the Netflix series now after playing this, to see more of those stories and stuff like that.
That's what I was curious about. I was would you go back to? I checked in the second game, first and second game, you can play on. Or I don't even think you can play the first one on Xbox One. You can play the second one on Xbox One, but I think it's just available via disc. It didn't look like you can buy it from the Microsoft Store. Would you go back to those? And I was going to ask if you'd watch the Netflix series.
I don't know about me going back to those games. One, as I've progressed and I've gotten at least I can start to recognize names even if I don't know them, and I can pull up on the glossary. I have been going back to little YouTube recaps just to be all right, this I understand happened in 2, so all right, I got it. And I didn't realize how Geralt got 2 love interests like that when he's so close to Yennefer at the beginning of the game. But I found out in one of the games his memory gets wiped, and that's how Triss enters his life, and then that's where that weird love triangle came from. So it's just learning little things like that. But yeah, no, I don't think I would go back because I am getting the story from another place. But I'm interested in watching the series. I've heard decent things about it. I
heard people liked it.
I think I will go back and peek at that here when I finish up.
Do you think that Cyberpunk will suffer the same problem, or do you think that'll be better because it's a fresh story from... I mean, it does have its own pre-existing lore with the tabletop RPG, but, you know...
I think the fact that it's like a...
series.
Not necessarily a new IP, but a new video game IP is going to take it a long way. I mean, the first Witcher is based off a whole series of books, right? So, like, you know, you don't have to necessarily read all the books to know the source material going into that game. And I think there's going to be a very similar thing with Cyberpunk. I'm sure they will reference things, and there's going to be things that will go right over my head that those that play the board game and know that that IP will catch right away. But I don't think it's going to be anything that devastating without a decent either recap or explanation in game in that regard. One thing I did want to mention, I talked about leveling last week a little bit, where you're forced to do the side quests pretty much just because the main story isn't giving you enough experience, and you can really only get experience from doing the quest. So something that I found out this week, so you can get experience from the side quest, but if you're over leveled for the side quest, you only get like 2 experience points. So there's a balance to it. So like, I can't get to level 12 and then just grind at these level 6 missions and then get to level 15 and be super overpowered for the main quest. No, it keeps you balanced throughout the entire game to make sure, like, not necessarily the game is hard. I'm playing on a normal difficulty, but like it's still somewhat challenging if you make a mistake in combat, or you come in unprepared with like the wrong potions or something if you don't look at your bestiary the correct way. So I kind of enjoy that. Like it keeps everything into perspective, because I just started noticing, like, I kept getting 2 experience points. I'm like, why am I getting only 2 experience points? And then like I texted Nick, and I had a feeling that was the reason, but I texted Nick and I was like, dude, is this the way it's supposed to be? Or am I just getting gypped? Or am I running into like a weird bug? He was like, no, that's how it is. It keeps you like level. Like, you know, it keeps you within the main line of story. So it balanced. That's the word I'm looking for. It keeps it balanced. So yeah, I thought that was kind of unique. I do like that. I hope Cyberpunk adopts that as well. So yeah, like I'm going through these side quests, and yeah, I might be over leveled and it might not be much of a challenge, but I'm still getting the story aspects out of it. Like, you know, there are very key things that are labeled as side quests that I feel like need to be done, for you to get the full story out of the game. Like there's this whole thing of like a possible assassination of one of the kings that you can be a part of, or like you could sabotage, and like if I haven't seen it all the way through yet, so I don't know what the payoff is, or like the different ways you can pay it off. But I feel like that is labeled as a side quest is going to have a huge implication to the way that this game ends. So there's a lot of stuff like that I like to see as well. But yeah, like, and then like the other thing with this game, and I've had days or even just play sessions like this where like I don't even want to do any of the quests. I just want to run around. Like I see points of interest, and they can be anything. It could be a bandit camp, a monster nest, a town that's been overtaken by monsters that you can clear to stay. Like it's those little things, right, that you see in like almost any open world game. But like I just like traveling around to them because I like exploring the world, and like these different areas of the world feel different enough. There's pretty much like 3 main hub areas. Like there's one that says like isles, and like what's cool about those islands, like they're one nation, but they're all these separate tribes, and they have like they're fighting. So like they're not like actually fighting, but like they quarrel all the time because it's just different ideals on these little islands. So like you're like not manipulating, but like you're siding with them, aligning with some tribes or whatever. So you're doing side quests like that, and then you go to like the main area, like Novigrad, which is just like a huge city, and there's like suburbs around it. You could call them suburbs, but like a lot of the stuff is just like you fighting bandits or like doing things like that in the city, and then you go out to the world where like there's more beasts and stuff like that. So like each area feels unique enough for me just to ride around just to see what else is out there. But then that like brings me to my point of like I'll just boot up the game and just explore the world because I want to, or I'll boot up the game and I'll just play Gwent. I'll find people to play Gwent, and you know, I'll try to get cards because I think that's the one thing I really want to get as an achievement is like to find all the Gwent cards because I enjoy Gwent so much. But like, yeah, I'm just having a good time. I think this week, because once again, I'm still like not working actively. I think I will finish it this week, at least the main quest. I don't know if I would get the expansions because we discussed it when I said I'm playing on Xbox. It's probably not the place I want to play it, but because it was free, like why not? I think for that reason, because I've had weird crashes at certain points on Xbox, and I texted Nick about that as well, like because he played on PC. I was like, "Hey, the game ever like crash randomly?" He was like, "No." I'm like, "Oh shit." And I know it doesn't look the best on. I mean, it still looks fine, but like it doesn't look the best as it can be, as I've seen on other screenshots and things like that. So I think for that reason, I might not do the expansions.
That's where I'm at with Monster Hunter. Like, I texted our friend Tyler about it, and like he didn't jump at it and buy it right away, but I felt like it's a game that he would like, and he kind of expressed a little bit of interest in it only from the like playing together part of it. So then I'm like, all right, well, if he got it, I'd have to get it on PS4. And then I thought about it and was like, well, the load times are like, this is the first game in a while that I've been playing where the load times are what I call phone check load times, where I'm like, I don't have enough to do whatever, but like I'll grab it and just I'll read a page or two in a book I'm reading. Like just, you know what I mean? Like literally reading a book for the fucking load time. It's that point. So I feel like if I wanted to go all the way through Iceborne, maybe I just buy it on PC and then do it that way. But then I'm like, well, if I'm on my PC, why don't I just play Phantasy Star 2? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing.
So yeah, I think next week you'll talk about how the end game, no spoilers of course, but like how the end game and what I thought about it and things like that. So I don't know, I'm still going strong with it. So strong, in fact, and I like Gwent so much that I actually tried Gwent, the mobile card game. I'm not a fan.
Oh.
So one of the things I really like about Gwent in The Witcher 3 is it's like so simplistic. It's pretty much there's a board, but there's like 3 layers, and there's 3 types of units. There's a siege unit, a ranged unit, and like a close combat unit. And like you're delicately like putting out like different, like you could go heavy on the close quarters, but like if you played a card called Winter Storm, all those units, their attack power will go down to 1. And the way you play Gwent is like you want to, like you keep playing cards one at a time, and then at the end of the round, which when I say round, that means both players have passed and don't want to play cards anymore. Whoever has the most attack power on one side wins the round, and it's a best 2 out of 3. Now, you don't get a brand new deck of cards. You have to play like the same 10, unless, of course, you have some kind of like card draw mechanic, and there's different things like that. You could get cards. But essentially, like you get 10 cards, and you must figure out the best way to play them in the best 2 out of 3. So you win, right? So like I like that simplicity. I like that as like 10 cards unless you got card draw, and it's very much like, all right, well, if I go very heavy on the close quarters, I have to play around Winter Storm. Or like if I'm doing like there's one of those like kinds of counters for each of those things. So you have to kind of balance potentially how you do it or whatever. And there's also cards that like double the attack power in a row. So very simplistic. It's complicated enough, but it's simplistic, and I've seen pretty much all the cards, and there's different types of decks, and I know like kind of like the counters and the advantages of each deck now. But like in this, they took away like there's only ranged and close quarters, and they took away like the ability to like have like cards just be ranged or just close quarters. Like not a lot of cards have that. You can kind of play them different ways, and then that is like if you play them as a range, there's a different bonus as opposed to close quarters, which I get. Like that's like them trying to stick to that, but it's just adding so much more vocabulary, and I put that in quotes because you always think of those action words and cards.
Yeah,
it's just adding so much more to it that I don't necessarily want. I just want the simplicity. Like I understand like complicating a little bit more. Like I understand that.
Yeah,
but
to make it a game that can stand on its own instead of being an adage to the.
Yeah, but like it's just. The mechanics aren't capturing me like a way that Artifact or Hearthstone did back in the day, where it's like, all right, like I don't understand the meta, and that's why I'm losing a lot, but I like what I'm playing. I like how it's being played, so I want to take the time. I want to get cards. I want to learn, or even like Magic, right? Like I like the mechanics of Magic, but yeah, it's just it just hasn't grabbed me the same way. and I've tried a couple hands. I haven't really played another like person per se, but I played a few AI games with like the standard decks, and I'm just like I'm not really liking it that much. It's not like really grabbing me. I mean, they keep the deck, like the different deck types. Like there's the monsters deck, there's the Northern Realms deck. They keep some of that. They like I said, they merged the 3 layers into 2 layers, but like they're not even really play the same. Still the same mechanics of like, what still play it by the rounds and who has the most attack power. But it's just not for me. So I'll stick with Witcher 3 Gwent.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for that Artifact 2.0 beta key. It's all I really want in my life.
Maybe this is the week, right?
I hope. Cause I'm itching, man. Like I like Gwen's got me like, I fucking forgot how good a card game can be. I know I know I have Magic, but I kind of fell off Magic, and like I don't want to fucking spoil the energy, itch. The crave, the itch for a card game on Magic when I know Artifact 2.0 is like right there.
It's so close.
Right there. And if I hate it, like I can always just go back to Magic, right? If I
Magic isn't going anywhere.
Yeah,
but 2021 set, I got an email about that from Magic is coming. I was like, cool. I was like, but
yeah. So that's where I'm at with Gwent. I still have it on my iPad. I might keep poking at it every once in a while, but not feeling it.
I jumped into...
I'm sorry. It is fine mechanically. It's not bad. It's just not for me. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. No, and I think what you're used to and what you kind of are looking for in a card game, it's a little less of that. No, I think The Witcher is funny to me because it's a game that probably was always there in the background, but you never jumped to it until now, which that is kind of where I ended up this week. I'd seen this game years and years and years ago when it was first announced on a glorious video game console called the Wii U. And I never grabbed it on Wii U. And then it got re-released this year for the Nintendo Switch. And even then I kind of let it come and go. I was intrigued, but still let it come and go until this week. And I grabbed Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore.
So, yes, in January, you asked yourself, what was it, 3 questions?
Yeah.
So did you finally say yes to all 3 questions?
I didn't ask those questions. I just did it. This was the most impulsive I've been in a while.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I remember you talking about wanting it, and then you keep asking yourself those 3 questions, and I think you talked about it for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, probably. Because I really wanted that game, but it was like, do I need this game? No. And I guess now I needed it. So I got it, and I am a few hours in. I could have been a few hours more, but I did a really sick thing where I got through a dungeon. I beat the boss. In the game, you have a character, you have a phone, and the characters contact you through the phone, and I get a phone call that's like, hey, come back to the base. You leveled up a bunch. It's time to give you a bunch of upgrades to your weapons and blah, blah, blah. Come back. And I was like, all right, but there's still a couple more floors, so let me go higher. Shouldn't have done that. And I swore that before the boss I saved it. Because when you walk up to the doors, it says, I sense a dangerous presence on the other side. Do you want to proceed? And you choose yes or no. And that's usually a good time to save your game if you haven't.
Yes.
And I distinctively remember before doing that, thinking to myself, no, I just saved. I'm good. And it was fine. I beat the boss without dying. It was all good. It was when I went up, like floor 5 is where, or 6, they want you to go back. And I was like, I'll keep going. I went up to like 7 or something. And literally like, there's these like shadow enemies that are dressed in purple. And the purple cloaked guys, it's the bad guys. So the guys in purple cloaks come flying at me. And I'm like, shit. And I tried, it was the toughest enemy I had faced in that dungeon. There were now 5 of them. And I'd only fought 1 before. And it was like, okay, this is going to be bad. 1 hit KO all of my party. Like I couldn't escape. I could nothing. And I was like, all right. And I hit load save. And I'm like, I got to go back a little bit and probably do. And I looked and it was the entire play session. I had just gone. I hadn't saved at fucking all. Anyway.
That's fun.
Back to the beginning of the game. So you start the game. And like all good games, you get to choose your game difficulty at the beginning, right? Well, then you're greeted with the next...
Well, no, not all good games. Bloodborne.
I know, I'm just kidding. We had that conversation a couple weeks ago, right? But it's okay. Do you want to play on this or this or this? Then you have the next most important question. Should Tsubasa wear glasses? Of course, everyone's wondering. You have 3 options. Don't wear for those who like people as they are. Wear for eyewear connoisseurs. And choose for me for those who can't make up their mind. I just loved it right away. This game tells you up front that it is equally as important for you to decide whether or not a main character wears glasses as it is to choose the difficulty of this game. Like, the fact that it's front-loaded right there tells you so much about this game.
So
right there.
Are the glasses a mechanic or just
No.
cosmetic?
It literally says this does not affect gameplay. Your outfit does not affect gameplay. It's just, and you can change difficulty and this glasses option at any point in the game without affecting anything.
So I was thinking for a second it might be like a dumb like Sekiro thing where like you can equip the charm and you just make everything fucking harder for no reason at all. Well, like,
Yeah, no.
better rewards, but yeah.
Nope. Just
That's
aesthetic.
awesome. Well, that's
aesthetic.
I think that right there almost like gets me like, yes, like hell yeah, like this game's goofy as fuck.
Yeah, like they care that much about it. So the game starts at an opera, and it's kind of keeping the cameras jumping between the stage and a girl in the audience. And it keeps doing that until the main star of the show vanishes in thin air.
Any mitochondria references?
The what?
Any mitochondria references?
It had those vibes to it, for sure. Like, I was getting Parasite Eve, for sure. And then one by one, everybody in the audience disappears, except for that one little girl in the center of the audience. Our story picks up 5 years later. We're now in high school with that main character, Tsubasa. Whether or not she's wearing glasses or not matters not. But so the main character, or the main star of that show, was her sister who disappeared. Tsubasa is now, you don't play as Tsubasa, but she's a student in high school with you, and you go to meet her. You go to meet your friend at a local like singing competition. Kind of, it looks like an American Idol style tryout thing that people are going to, all to be the next Tokyo's next big pop idol. You find out that Tsubasa's sister is the one who disappeared, and Tsubasa was the one in the audience there. There is something called now I don't remember it and I didn't write it down. Performa. So it's Performa, and they all have like people who perform and sing and entertain all have Performa within them, and there's something from this shadow realm that wants to consume the Performa to grow more powerful. So that's why they kidnapped the sister. That's why they grabbed people who were kind of like absorbing the sister's Performa as she performed. That's where all these demons come from. And then this game, if you recall, is a crossover between the Shin Megami Tensei series and Fire Emblem. Surface level, this is not even to its core. This is a Shin Megami Tensei game that happens to have some Fire Emblem stuff, and it's really limited. So, like the character where you go and you upgrade your stuff, like there's actually a really neat weapon system in this. So your character might have a sword that they use in battle, and then as you use that sword, it levels up and you get more attacks that you can use through that sword, but you hit a mastery level of that sword to a point where you can't do anything more with it, and it happens rather quickly. Like, I would say half a dungeon or maybe a whole dungeon, you probably have mastered out what you can get out of a sword. And then you take pieces that you're getting from killing different monsters in the dungeon and going back to the central hub to then kind of combine monster pieces with other items and forge new weapons, and then you use those new weapons. And when I say forge, I mean it's you click a button. Like, you just click, I want that weapon, and it just kind of gives it to you. But the character that you go to for that stuff is Tiki, an ancient dragon girl from Fire Emblem. Right? So that's like the level of Fire Emblem. In the Persona series and the Shin Megami Tensei series, your characters always enter this kind of demon world with a demon representative, or like some sort of...
A persona?
A persona. In this game, your characters' personas are the Fire Emblem characters.
All right.
And the way that they work is you don't actually play as the Fire Emblem character. So like Chrom is in this one. He's like your main character's persona per se. you don't play as Crumb. You still play as your main character, but he's now outfitted with like this cool badass armor that's kind of influenced by Crumb. And as you level up, Crumb's spirit is teaching your character how to fight better in the Shadow Realm. So like the Fire Emblem stuff there is on the periphery, but all of the gameplay is Shin Megami Tensei, and the Fire Emblem stuff is all like for Flourish. Like when you level up your character, it's the level up sound from Fire Emblem, but it's still like, it's like Bufu is the ice attack. Like all, it's like if you've played Persona or any of those, like it's that mechanics. It's all of that throughout. The Fire Emblem stuff is just kind of like the accents around the world. But so far, it's really I'm having a lot of fun, despite having to replay that whole dungeon a second time.
That's always bad, but oh well, that's not the game's fault.
No, that was fully my fault. But it reminds you, save your game, save early, save often. I lost like almost 2.5 hours of just like. Ugh.
I've had a couple of moments like that in The Witcher where like an autosave didn't happen where I thought, and like it's not 2.5 hours, it's probably not even like 10 minutes, but like there was just a boss fight that I had to go through again. It's like crap.
Yeah, it sucks. It's because in that 2.5 hours too, like it was the first time I got to Shibuya, so I was like running around and like looking at every store and engaging with everything. And the second run through, I just fucking, I still did it. Because the cool thing about this was like when you went to the convenience store and you bought something, or when you went to the jewelry store and you bought like a new accessory for your character to wear that applies different like buffs or whatever, you get these lottery tickets and you can cash in the lottery tickets for random items. So I kind of wanted to go back and do that. And it actually worked out the second time because I got spicy curry each time, which is a revive for your character, which I needed. As we learned, more revives.
Not bad.
Quick shout out, full ass Matt character in this game called Barry Goodman.
All right.
So Barry Goodman is he used to be in a very popular rock band in America. I don't know what something happened to that rock band. They broke up, and now he moved to Japan. He lost his figure. He's just this big fat dude now.
All right.
Who instructs people and helps to become like an entertainer instructor or whatever. But he is so intense and just like a big goofball. But I was just like walking. I don't know why. Like this would be a character that you gravitated towards. Like just big old goofball. Are you looking at him? Is that?
Yeah, no, I'm on the.
I can see the grin.
I was looking at this guy. This guy's like blonde hair, headband, beard, a little bit of a gut. He's got some awesome purple and orange shoes, though.
He's just like, and the whole thing. So the game is fully voice acted, which is really impressive. And he's obviously speaking Japanese, but then like he says his name and he's like, very good, like super, like he's very animated. Like he is not like you in any way, but he's very much a Matt character, if that makes sense.
Despite this, he has a habit of slipping into English when emphasizing things in sentences or when he becomes agitated. All right.
Yeah, when he says his name or like certain little things that he'll like yell at the students about and stuff, but he's a lot of fun.
That's funny.
Yeah, but that one, it's a cool game, and like the more mechanics I start to unlock and everything, I really dig. So in the Persona games, in the Mega 10 stuff, you can always do these kind of like stacked auto attacks. So if a character is weak to fire and you attack with fire, your other characters who know some sort of fire-based attack will kind of like stack on and do an extra attack. And in this game, because it's all like kind of pop music themed and everything, it's all about performance and that kind of thing. So it's called a session attack. So your character will land a hit and then other characters will join in on the session. But that's still there. Like it still has a lot of those things, but all through this like pop star kind of performance thing. And just like the Fire Emblem series has had and the Mega 10 stuff, like there's these cool, like there's like the 3 different art styles happening. Like there's the overworld art style, there's the in-battle art style, but then there's the anime cutscene art style that's playing out that's like super well done animation, hand-drawn animation and stuff. And I'm happy I'm finally playing it after all this time. I wanted to play it back when Wii U and just never... It was always that one where I was like, do I really want to jump into this? You know what I mean? Like, I just kind of... But here's the question. Will I finish it? Because I tried Persona 4 and didn't finish it. I tried Persona 5 and didn't finish it. I've tried 1 or 2 Mega 10 games at this point and haven't finished them, so we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with starting and not finishing a game, per se. If you enjoyed your time with it.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, especially like a game like this, right? Like, it's probably, 50 hours, 60 hours long?
I peaked, and that was actually a deciding factor, is howlongtobeat.com estimates this at like 30-ish, or close to 50 if you want to be a completionist. So I figured whenever I read the completionist run, I always like apply that to me, not because I'm necessarily going to go hunt out everything, but because I'm an idiot and I don't understand what I'm supposed to do most of the time. So I end up spending more time than I probably need to on certain things. So I looked at it like, I could spend 50 hours on this. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, the completionist one for The Witcher 3 is like 200 hours, so...
Not going to happen.
But the main plus some side stuff was like 50, and I was like, that's probably going to what I fall under, so
yeah,
I seem to be on pace for that.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of good J-pop, a lot of good RPG action, a lot of fun all around. I wonder what'll become of this. If this is just a once-off, lost-to-time kind of thing, or if maybe the Switch gives the game a second life, and there's a sequel.
I feel like anyone who's published on the Wii U is like doing his re-release thing to see, like, giving it a real fair shot, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's the interesting thing there is that this was a joint effort between Atlas and Nintendo, but this seems very much more like an Atlas game that just happens to have Nintendo characters mixed into it. So I don't know who makes the call there. I don't know I don't know. We'll see. I did, looking into it a little bit this week, it seems like it's sold well enough in Japan this time around, so maybe that's hopeful, but I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't know what they expect from a game like that in the West.
Yeah. Yeah. That is everything I've played this week that is worth mentioning, I think. Anything else on your end?
Nah. Nope, that's about it.
Well, let's close it out with a little bit of Sega. Here for the 60th anniversary. We talked earlier about what Sega's done for the 60th anniversary. Yeah, do you have any particular Sega memories looking back, or hopes for the future, or...
Well, there's a lot of hopes for a lot of companies' futures that I...
Yeah.
No, I've never owned a piece of Sega hardware. From the time I started playing video games, I had a Super Nintendo, and that turned into PlayStation, where that's pretty much been where I've lived until more recently when I've had my own income. But yeah, no, never had the Sega hardware. Now my cousins did. I remember them having a Genesis, and like I don't remember much from it, but I remember like going over there and playing the Genesis and playing Sonic. They had like some kind of NBA game. I don't think it was Jam. I think it was like just some type of other NBA. Like the faint little memories. I don't even remember what else they had, to be completely honest. But like, I just remember like that was like a bonus of like going over there. Was like, oh, they had the Genesis. They had the other one. Let's play the things over there. And I had the Super Nintendo. But like I don't know. Like it's funny when you ask me to like think of this. Like one of the first memories I have of like the first thing that came to my mind was the day like my because like I didn't read a lot of video game news at this point, but like I just remember my mom like coming in from work one time and we were just like talking. I was like a kid. She was like, "Oh yeah, I heard the Dreamcast is discontinued," and it was so weird. Like I didn't know what that meant. I just remember like it was important because she was telling me this and she doesn't pay attention to it. So like. It was just very weird. And I know this like Dreamcast was a weird, unique thing, but I was more like, oh, I want the PlayStation 2 at some point. I want the PlayStation 2. And then when we go back to think about like how big that was at that's the last piece of Sega hardware, right? And then when you go back and play some of the games that were on it, I haven't played a lot of that Dreamcast library. I know part of that is Sonic Adventure, which that just seems like a fucking mess in my opinion. But
get a load of this.
I know, like, the first time I played NFL 2K on another console, that was when I was like, oh, fuck, I missed out on something here. And just, like, embracing the 2K series of, like, sports video games and stuff like that. So it was then I realized I was like, oh, man, I kind of missed, like, a huge chapter with that collection of games. So that's, like I said, that's pretty much all I had because I never, like, owned it. I was always on the outside looking in. I
think though that like I have definitely shared that kind of like guilt feeling of like look at how good this was. Look at what we missed. But like I think it's in hindsight it's easy to look at what we missed, but it's hard to remember how difficult it was to be a Sega fan. Like for me growing up, like my earliest memories are playing Tetris on NES, and by the time we got the Genesis launched a month after I did, so we weren't gonna have one of those. But by the time I was 4, the Genesis second revision had come out, and that was the one we got. And I have like so many fond memories of playing the Sega Genesis growing up, and like playing stuff like playing Vector Man, playing Paperboy, playing anything that had Sonic in it. I had to
Jurassic Park.
Right? Jurassic Park was a fantastic Sega Genesis game that I never understood how to play, but it was dark and weird and terrifying.
It was terrifying.
I that's still one of the moments in the Free Cheese history I wish we would have been rolling because we weren't recording at that point. But like just your reaction to seeing like the difference of what you were playing as a kid versus my Jurassic Park. But I'd play Golden Axe, I'd play Shinobi, like all of that stuff that was just like so Sega to me. And it was weird because there was that clear divide of Sega versus Nintendo that obviously happened. And to an extent, I bought into it and felt that kind of sense of pride or whatever it was, or just brainwashing by a corporation into loving the Genesis over the Super Nintendo. But to me, like, my Genesis complemented my NES because I had them both in tandem, side by side. Like they were both, to me, two different sides of the same coin. Like I played them both for different reasons. The SNES was the one to me that was always foreign because it was like, just because I didn't have it, right? It's similar to you. Like you'd visit your cousins and play the Genesis. Like I'd visit friends or whoever who had the Super Nintendo, and it was like, it was this weird relic that was cool, but not mine. And there was always something just about all of the stuff I played on Genesis that just felt like I was exploring these new worlds. Like every time I got a new Genesis game, it was like, oh, what is this going to be? And I think like of all of the consoles, like obviously PS1 and N64, that era, all the way through PS2 had the rental stuff was at a high at that point. But Genesis was the part where I feel like we sort of, I think just most likely because of my age at the time, because you don't kind of know any better. Like by the time we're in PS1 era, PS2, I'm at an age where I know when a game sucks. Yeah. Where when you're younger and you're playing the Genesis stuff, it's like, it's not that the game sucks, it's that you, and it's not even that you're bad at it, right? It's that that's what the game is, and you end up making the game into something else. Like Jurassic Park is a perfect example because that game sucks. But for the longest time, I just thought that the game was that first level. There's a whole other game, like no different than Batman Forever. That game sucks.
Whoa.
I just thought the whole point of that game was to run forward as Batman, beat up some dudes, and then drop down to the next level with your grappling hook. Never knew that the game was just really poorly made. And that I was also bad at it because it was, all that.
I mean, I just said, I remember going over to my cousin's house and playing Sonic. I get the feeling.
But, as excited as I was for the Genesis, I was disappointed when the Saturn released. And it seemed like it was being left behind. And I felt like moving into the Saturn space at the time would have been me being left behind. Like, Saturn didn't seem like an option, like a viable option at the time.
It's so funny you bring up the Saturn because, with me being just a couple years younger than you, like as we've, I think, just discussed, like that couple year difference around this time is such a big gap because, like, I didn't really realize like the Saturn and the Genesis were different. Like, I knew they were different, but like I didn't realize there was a jump, like a Nintendo to Super Nintendo at that point. Everyone talks
and that's
about
a problem
PlayStation.
too, because they had the Sega CD and the 32X that were all add-ons. So
I didn't realize that all that shit existed until like when I was older, right? So like it's just
the Saturn at a point like is still part of that same way of thinking where it gets lost in translation of like, wait, is it a new thing or is it another expansion for the Genesis? Because you guys have put out 6 of those, right?
Yeah, and then like for the longest time, like that Saturn logo, like that blue with like the little like it looked like a Saturn, right?
Yeah.
I always related that back to the Genesis. Like it was just such a weird blur at that point in my life.
Yeah, it and I think too, like that had that property to it. Like it, for a while there was like the idea of the Sega Neptune, right? Which was like going to be the super console that had the 32X and the CD all built in as one thing. And then they didn't do that. And then the Saturn came out and it was like, I didn't want that. And then a couple years later, like that was the thing where like I was at an age where I was becoming aware of what I was getting into and I was able to influence my parents' decisions. And I didn't want the Saturn. And then a couple years later, I didn't want the Dreamcast for different but similar reasons. And I think that the thing is, like, not a lot of people did, right? It's easy now to look back and go, look at what we missed. But it's also like Sega made a lot of bad moves. When we look at it like it was ahead of its time, and yeah, it was, but there were a lot of weird missteps in marketing, in communication, in I don't know what to capitalize on too, because the Saturn thrived in Japan, but there were a lot more RPGs in Japan. There were a lot of things that Japan was more willing to accept than we were, and not an easy way for Japan to pivot that stuff into the American market, where they already had it difficult as it was. By the time Sega had entered the American market with the Master System in 80, I forget what year that was. But by the time they were even putting the Genesis out here, Nintendo still had like a 92% market hold, right? Like with NES. Yeah. At a point where the NES was here for 3 years, Genesis joins in 88, and it's already like, it was an impossible task that they ended up kind of getting to the point where I think they did overtake, percentage-wise for at least a time. They overtook the Super Nintendo. I don't know if it ended up shaking out that way. I can't remember the numbers, but it was a Herculean effort to overtake Nintendo when Nintendo was what was synonymous with playing video games meant back then. But yeah, those missteps and everything led to that part. And it's a shame that it turned out the way it did, because now we're talking about it as like what could have been, or Sega becomes the butt of a joke or whatever. But I think ultimately, like, I look back at the Genesis super fondly. I look back at it like I could sit side by side with my brother and play those games on Genesis, plugged in 2 controllers, or alone in my bedroom with the Sega Nomad with a cartridge popped in the top of it. Like, that is still, so obviously the Switch is, and so many things have done things like that, but like the possibility of that back when I was like 6 was just insane, that I could take the cartridge from the TV and hold it in my hands and play that same dumb Aladdin game in the palm of my hand while watching Aladdin on the TV. Like, that was the promise of the Wii U right there. And now, 30, I can explore Saturn, I can explore Dreamcast, and I can see all those different libraries with different eyes and see them for what they were, what they could have been. And I wish that I could go back and show them to my former self back then and say, no, look how cool this is. But back then I was like, well, Saturn doesn't have a Sonic game on it, so I guess I don't want it, Yeah,
I mean, we all know I've famously have played Shenmue 1 and most of 2 at this point. I don't know if I could talk to my former self into playing that back then without the resources I have today.
Yeah, and that's a difficult, like, yeah, as we grow older, our tastes change and our appreciation of things change. And you might have liked Shenmue back then, but you can't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. And even if you did, would that have changed Sega's outcome? Like, I wonder that all the time. It's like, it sucks that Sega's not part of that market space anymore because they were so cool. And that's the thing that I think really is the loss of all this is looking back. I mean, really, since Sega was making its own hardware, like, has Sega made a cool game in a long time? Like, there was so much coming out of I think, like, the arcade space is still interesting and what they're doing there. But there's been so many weird steps. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's definite things, but, like, looking through that timeline that is on the Sega's, like, 60th anniversary website, the timeline's kind of weird. And there's this big gap in innovation isn't the right word, but just it's a big gap between there were all of these different things happening, all these different beats happening where it was like, oh, the first Space Harrier machine, like all these franchises that were popping up that were so inherently Sega. And you see that with the Dreamcast, you see that with the arcade space, you see it across the board, every console. And then it just kind of like stopped. And there hasn't been a ton of new stuff coming from Sega. And it sucks because there's so much there. Or potentially so much there. I don't know.
Yeah, I had to look it up, but like, there are some titles, like you got the Yakuza games that are still coming. They are publishing some of those. Like, I know, like we don't play a lot of 2 Point Hospital, but like I know, like that is a Sega game, a published game at least.
Yeah, and then they bought the developer in the last year, so that's
like, they have stuff. It's just like, it's not stuff that you think about right off the top of your head, like.
Yeah, they do Total War. Like, that's their big thing now, right? It's like,
yeah.
All right, sick.
Like, I don't know, there's like a bunch of other publishers out there that you ask me to name a game, I feel like I can name it pretty easily, or name a franchise or a newer game from them pretty easily. And yeah, I think it says a lot that we both just had a hard time thinking of a game that they've released recently.
Yeah, I mean, they bought Atlas, so that counts for something, I guess. But, there's little things, like they put out Puyo Puyo.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's... I don't know. I hope that we can start to see... Like, I read an interview with the CEO of Sega they have on the company website. It seems like they're trying to have fun with this celebration a little bit, and they're trying to be a little bit more candid and a little bit more... not as, like... closed off. Like, it is not as thorough or entertaining as like the Iwata Asks interviews used to be, but they're going for an edge of that in a way. But it's, yeah, I don't know. I want to see Sega get back to being Sega. Obviously the hardware is not going to happen, but just being adventurous in a space with video games and letting developers do weird stuff and create kind of more iconic characters, which is tough because it's, how do you breach this market, right? Like, there's so many, as we've spoken in the last few hours, how many games were released on Steam or iOS or itch, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's tough. Fortunately, they have the name Sega behind it, so you put something out, people will pay attention. But final thoughts on Sega?
I mean, there's still opportunity for them. I mean, obviously the hardware space is done. I would not enter it at this point either.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's still hope for the third. I mean, they have there's games and there's IPs I'm sure they have that they can do. Like Yakuza is still pumping out stuff. They still had some of that. Bayonetta, that's not Sega, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, Bayonetta, Vanquish, like, they got that stuff that that developer,
Platinum.
Yeah, Platinum put out. So, like, they have stuff. It's just they're not cranking it out as fast. And, like,
yeah.
Every time they try to do something new with Sonic, I just think it mostly just flops. Besides Mania.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful for whatever this next project is. From the people who made Forces it seems like they learned a lot from Forces. But I can't say that with any real faith, because
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, play some Sega games. The Sega stuff's all over the place. I mean, 3DS has all those cool. They've got a lot of Game Gear games. They've got the 3D Ages stuff you can play. The Sega Ages collection stuff is on Switch now, which those are honestly, the Sega Ages stuff on Switch might be the best way to play most of those games. There's a lot of cool stuff within those. A lot of quality of life updates, and it's all M2 developed. Other than that, go Sega.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll see. And other than that, that's the end of the show. You can find the show on the internet, thefreecheese.com. Podcast at thefreecheese.com if you want to email us. Get your voice on the show. I went to go double check and make sure we didn't have any emails come in. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah,
What's this week look like?
Probably finishing The Witcher, and then, God, I don't know. I really thought The Witcher would take me further, but I don't know what to do next. I don't know if I would dive into one of the DLCs or look through Game Pass or maybe check out some of the Days of Play stuff from PlayStation and find something there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Might have a good surprise for someone next week. I don't know.
Hey, there's always Monster Hunter.
Mm.
Yeah. You might. You might. Speaking of which, I'm going to keep poking at that. My Steam's definitely loosening with that one. But I think it's just because I jumped into Tokyo Mirage this week, so it kind of grabbed my attention away.
I get that.
But yeah, that's really it. I've been playing a lot of weird... I spent a while this week just fucking around with the Famicom collection on the... like the... What do they call them? I'm never going to get the name right, but all the Switch Online stuff that you can get.
Yeah.
I have the Japanese account on my Switch, so I was playing the Famicom stuff just because they have a different library and just playing weird shit I'd never played before and just seeing how far I could get in it before I got tired of it. Those games are all good for that kind of stuff and just exploring it all from that perspective. That's kind of it.
That's all I got.
That's it. I thought about Phantasy Star Online 2 because it's on PC now. Not there?
I don't know. I played the first hour of that.
What if I told you could dress up like Hatsune Miku?
No, I don't know.
What if I told you that for $60 you could dress up as Sonic the Hedgehog?
No.
All right.
No, dude. We need Kyle. I'm ready to throw up the sales, man. I am ready over here.
Oh, word?
Dude, I told you I fucking play Call of Duty like every night.
I know. I thought about that middle of the week this week. He's been playing a fuck ton of Fable.
All right.
Like, I think he just played through all of the Fable games.
Good for him.
Not to put him on blast, but...
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I don't mean that. I just mean, like, I think he spent his last week...
At least he's not playing trash.
No. Yeah. I was surprised that, like, oh, he's on Fable 3 already. That kind of thing. Yeah, well, maybe we'll go sailing.
I'll sail.
All
Especially
right,
after I beat The Witcher.
Let's see what I can put together here this week. We'll get something going. Also, this week was supposed to be E3. Which is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. We'll be back next week with another episode. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. We'll see you next time.